Early morning, June 3, 2023. A man calls 911. He says his 12-year-old daughter is missing. He left for his overnight shift the evening before, he says, and when he came home, she was gone. His voice on that call is calm, almost detached. The kind of calm that, on its own, means nothing. Grief hits people differently. But it's also the kind of calm people remember later, once they know how a story ends. Nobody on that call knew they were about to spend the next 22 months chasing an answer that, in some sense, was already sitting in front of them. Her name was Lori Paige. This is how she disappeared, how her father's own story started falling apart under pressure, and how a fire is what finally cracked this case open. Lori was 12, a student at Griffin Middle School. Teachers remembered how seriously she took being on time, running between classes just to avoid being late, even for 130 feet away. Her home life hadn't been simple. She'd been shuffled between caregivers over the years before landing with her father, Andrew Wiley. A neighbor across the street later told police Lori always seemed a little lost, rarely seen with kids her own age, often in baggy clothes. Police also learned Lori had run off twice before, both times returning on her own within a day or two. That history is exactly why this case almost didn't get treated as urgent from the start. When Wiley called it in, officers treated it, almost automatically, as a probable runaway. An officer checked an address on Arkansas Street where Lori had gone before. Nothing. He checked her school directly. Nothing. Investigators canvassed the neighborhood. One neighbor let them review his security camera, angled toward the cul-de-sac. Officers scrolled through hours of footage, hoping to catch Lori leaving on foot. Nothing. No sign of a 12-year-old walking out of that house at any point. They checked in with a woman named Miranda, who'd looked after Lori in the past. Nothing there either, though she'd later mentioned Lori was too talkative for her taste. A small comment that, much later, read as one more sign Lori hadn't had many adults fully in her corner. 2 days in, investigators had nothing solid, just a missing 12-year-old, a father who didn't seem especially rattled, and an assumption, runaway, quietly shaping which leads got chased hard. That assumption would cost this case months. Weeks turned into months, and the case stopped sounding like a runaway. Classmates said Lori had shown up with bruises, elbows, knees, a busted lip more than once. One friend said Lori told her flatly that her father hit her hard enough to leave marks. Another remembered something worse. Lori said that if she ever told anyone what was happening at home, her father would kill her. A rumor also moved through the school that Lori was being groomed online by a man in his 20s. Detectives chased it hard, teacher after teacher, each one sure they'd heard it from someone else. It looped back on itself every time. A subpoena to Reddit, chasing an account investigators thought might be hers, came back showing it was actually run out of England. Another dead end, closed. Still, something was becoming clear. Whatever was happening in that house, people around Lori had sensed it long before she vanished. Nobody with the authority to act heard the worst of it. "He'll kill me if I tell," until she'd already been gone the better part of a year. This is where the case actually turns. In February 2024, 8 months after Lori disappeared, investigators seized a phone from Wiley's residence. The forensic analysis came back in March 2024, and it changed everything. Buried in the search history were what investigators called questionable searches: remote areas, bodies of water, locations across the Alabama and Georgia state lines. Not one search, a pattern. That same month, detectives noted growing inconsistencies in Wiley's own account, alongside new information about his actual relationship with Lori, information that didn't match what he'd first told police. Around this time, a former partner of Wiley's told police about a past domestic violence incident, one where children had reportedly witnessed a strangulation, New witness interviews pointed the same direction, a home that wasn't safe, long before June 2023. When detectives asked Wiley to hand over his devices for inspection, he refused. That refusal did more than raise suspicion about Wiley. It also made investigators wonder whether his own brother, Antoine, knew more than he'd said. Using the phone data, investigators traced their attention to a remote, brush-covered property in Thomas County, Georgia, locally known as an old plantation. They searched it in early 2024. They found nothing. By this point, investigators believed they had enough to charge Wiley, even without a body. There was real internal discussion about pursuing a no-body murder case, built on digital evidence and inconsistencies alone. They chose to wait. Investigators wanted to find Lori first, if there was any way to do it. That decision meant Wiley stayed free for another year, while the case continued quietly in the background. A genuinely hard call from the outside, and an even harder one to have actually made. The Thomas County site sat untouched, dense brush hiding whatever might be there. Then, on April 5, 2025, a routine prescribed burn, the kind land managers set intentionally to clear overgrowth, swept through that same area. When investigators went back, the ground was finally visible. They found human remains. 4 days later, DNA confirmed what Tallahassee had feared for almost 2 years. It was Lori. 2 days after that, on April 11, 2025, police arrested Andrew Wiley and charged him with second-degree murder. A search warrant hit his apartment in Thomasville. Investigators found several electronic devices, some dismantled or reset. His car was seized. A firearm, ammunition, cleaning materials, paper maps, and, almost unbearably, printed flyers of his own daughter's missing person case. The car told its own story. The floor mats that should have been there were simply gone. In their place, a bottle of cleaning spray, specifically marketed for removing blood. When the carpet was pulled up and sent to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement Crime Lab, it came back positive. Lori's blood, in her father's car. Then the flight. On June 2nd, 2023, one full day before Wiley ever called police, he'd bought a one-way plane ticket, Jacksonville to Puerto Rico. He drove to the airport that evening, then turned around and drove back to Tallahassee without ever boarding. He asked for a refund. It was denied. Prosecutors also laid out a theory of motive, careful to call it exactly that. A theory, not a proven fact. 2 days before Lori was reported missing, Wiley had bought Plan B. Around the same time, he sought treatment for a sexually transmitted infection and refused to let doctors fully examine him. The state attorney said publicly the evidence pointed toward the possibility of sexual assault, and that Lori's death may have happened once Wiley realized he couldn't keep that hidden. He added there was no way to know for certain what her final hours looked like. Part of why prosecutors didn't believe they had enough to prove premeditation or to pursue the death penalty. Wiley was denied bond. A judge barred him from contact with several family members. The case was headed toward a decision on which state, Florida or Georgia, would try him, since the killing and the disposal crossed state lines. None of that ever happened. On June 20th, 2025, Andrew Wiley died in custody. Cause of death, a pulmonary embolism. He died before a single piece of that evidence. The phone searches, the blood in the carpet, the ticket he never used, was ever presented to a jury. Isn't it an unfair world? Or maybe God decided to punish him himself. Legally, the case is closed. Nobody was ever convicted. Go back to that 911 call from the start of this video. The calm voice, the missing backpack, the story that started falling apart almost immediately. That call is the closest thing this case will ever have to a cross-examination. Nobody got to ask Andrew Wiley these questions under oath, with Lori's family in the room. Lori Paige was 12. She should be finishing middle school right now. still running between classes so she wouldn't be late. Instead, her case is the reason Tallahassee Police Department no longer labels missing kids runaways the moment a parent uses that word. That change came from her story. It just came too late to help her. If this one stuck with you, let me know in the comments, especially what you think about the decision to wait a year before making an arrest.
You're sitting there giggling in handcuffs while you're being charged with your daughter's murder.
I'm being charged with murder?
Yeah.
We have enough evidence to charge you with murder.
Charge random people?
No,
No.
we don't charge random people.
Definitely ain't random.
Especially not after a 2-year investigation.
And I'm telling you right now, if you don't show any signs of remorse right now, if you don't show any signs that you give a shit right now, you are going to be convicted.
You're being charged with murder, and we're saying we found her, so I think you're smart enough to put 2 and 2 together.
Was it a mistake? Was it an accident?
Listen, ma'am.
Deep down, I think you do feel bad. I think you do have remorse for what happened. And I think you got scared and did some stupid shit so she wouldn't be found.
So you ain't found my daughter?
Yeah, we found her. She's right where you left her.